Which Vikings player is the winner of training camp? We're breaking it down up next on Superior Sports Talk.
KARE 11 sports anchor Reggie Wilson covers the Twin City sports scene non-stop. Luke Inman is ready to put him on the hot seat.
That's what you're going to do to me?
Instant analysis.
Yanked. Out you go.
Post-game breakdowns and red-hot takes.
The Timberwolves need a stitch.
Reggie and Luke give you a daily dose of Minnesota sports with Superior Sports Talk. Part of Locked On Sports Minnesota. And it starts now.
Back in the lab, Reggie and Luke back at it. Another episode, Superior Sports Talk, presented by Locked On Sports Minnesota. KARE 11's very own Reggie Wilson with me. So life is good. Thursday, Reg, almost there.
Let's get into it.
Big show lined up, talking Vikings names you need to get to know from Viking camp thus far. Plus, where were you on April 22nd? Yeah, that's the last time the Twins were out of first place in the Central Division. And later, I'm putting Reggie on the hot seat with what does it mean? It's all coming up on Superior Sports Talk, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Remember, follow along on the Locked On Minnesota YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button there and on Twitter. Smash that follow button at Locked On MIN. And remember, we're a podcast too, free and available on all platforms. Subscribe and drop us a 5-star review. Take us everywhere on the go so you never miss any of the action. All right. To football we go, 27 days. Week 1 of the NFL season kicks off. Vikes resume practice today in the pads with one more non-padded run-through tomorrow before they pack their bags, head out west in their first showdown with the Las Vegas Raiders. Reg, we broke down the game a little bit yesterday, what we expect from KOC's game plan, what that's going to look like. But today I want to know, what's one thing you're looking forward to finding out on Sunday? What's a question you need to get answered when the Vikes play their first preseason game?
I'm sticking to my story from yesterday. I think it's, what are we seeing from Kellen Mond? Like, is he a guy that you can depend on as maybe a backup or challenge to be a starter in the future? Or is he a guy that is just kind of hanging on and you know, just fighting for a roster spot? I think Kevin O'Connell is going to give him every chance to prove himself, but you know, it's going to be up to him. You know, he's made some plays during training camp. You know, last week he had that play where he's just kind of like chucking it on the run, and it was just a dazzling throw. And sometimes he makes plays like that, and then sometimes he makes plays that you're like, wait, don't throw that. What are you doing? And I think that's the frustrating part. You just kind of want to see some consistency from him. He is a young guy. You know, he was kind of thought to be a green prospect coming into the league. Played in a pretty good offense with Jimbo, but it's just like, all right, what are we going to get? You know, what's the deal here? He has some athleticism, can make things happen with his legs. And so you're, you know, kind of excited about that aspect, but you just don't really know what you're going to get from him from play to play. And I think he needs to show and prove that he can be that consistent presence, because I think that backup job is his for the taking. Sean Mannion, obviously, played for the Rams. He's familiar with this system already, so he kind of has the leg up there. But as we've seen, you know, if you got to rely on Sean Mannion to win you a game, I don't know that you can do that. And so if you want to provide a spark, maybe you put in Kellen Mond, but can they trust him is the question. Can the coaching staff trust him to do what he needs to do in the case that something happens with Kirk Cousins? And this preseason game, and really this preseason overall, is going to give him a chance to show and prove what he can do.
Yeah, I like that. Kellen Mond. Going to be on everyone's mind, and for good reason. I'm going to go a little bit deeper in the weeds here. We're going to see a lot of the second and third team, and I want to know where some of these position battles are at. I want to know who the coaches have ranked higher on the depth chart. Which third team linebacker gets first crack at special teams? Luigi Villain or Zach McLeod? Who looks better? Who can make a name for themselves on special teams when we get into live action and help themselves stick to this roster after cut day? Wide receiver 5 and 6, we talk about that position battle a lot. Is it Myron Mitchell up first or Tristan Jackson getting reps, making more plays with their opportunities? And speaking of special teams and how a lot of these bubble guys can survive these cut downs, how about kick and punt return? Which guy or two, first off, gets the first and second crack at the job? Because that tells you where coaches have them ranked. but who can actually look more comfortable and natural back there fielding punts, because there's a lot of inexperience back there. So a lot of good positional battles going on in the back end of this roster once you get past the first and second team, which seems more set in stone, where these last 15, 30 guys, they're fighting for their livelihood. They're fighting for their jobs right now. So it may seem boring to some, I know, but when we get in the middle of the season, when it's week 12, when your team's banged up and you're down to your third string linebacker or right tackle, and it's 3rd and 2 in the fourth quarter, you need a big play. These might be some of the names that end up winning or losing you ball games in the NFL. So it's important to keep a close watch on these battles going on every practice, every rep, every preseason snap. They all matter, man. Hey, Malcolm Butler made the biggest play of the Super Bowl 49 when he picked off Russell Wilson. He was an undrafted free agent 1 year prior. So, hey, never forget, man. All these positional battles matter. Next up, Vikings released their unofficial depth chart heading into preseason week 1. Reg, what sticks out to you as you come through kind of our first peek at how these coaches have these rosters ranked? Anything stick out to you or just kind of surprise you a little bit?
I wouldn't say anything surprises me, but what sticks out, I've kind of been looking at the big boys here, and tackles, Darisaw, O'Neal, that's what we expect. The starters that they have, penciled in, and this is preliminary and it's unofficial, so we take it with a grain of salt, but it kind of plays out how things have been playing out so far in camp. And you got Ezra Cleveland, who was one of the offensive linemen who took every snap last season. And then you got Garrett Bradbury at center, which you expect. But then, we made so much about that right guard position. And, we were like, okay, is it Schlotman who they signed? Or is it Ed Ingram? Or could it be Wyatt Davis? It's going to be no, it's Jesse Davis. Just like, out of nowhere, it's been Jesse. Like they pulled a veteran in there out of all those guys, and you're just like, okay, that makes sense. Now I do think Ed Ingram, as he continues to develop, this job is going to be his at some point. They didn't draft him in the second round to have him riding the pine, but at the same time, you're like, well, shout out to Jesse Davis. Like he just came in and just grabbed that spot, and he hasn't really let it go. And so I think that's pretty impressive for him. So this is another point here, and it's the defensive ends. So they start Dalvin Tomlinson and Armon Watts on both sides, and Harrison Phillips in the middle. And so you got like Jalen Twyman, who we've talked about. The dude looks like a dude so far. Coming back from missing all of last season with that unfortunate event in his life, and now he's battling his way back. But it's just so interesting to see those two guys kind of being cemented as the defensive ends in Tomlinson and Watts. And then when you look at the outside linebacker positions, they mixed up Pat Jones and DJ Wanham as backups behind Danielle Hunter and Za'Darius Smith. And so it's interesting. I would have thought that Wanham would have been one of the ends and Tomlinson would have been one of the nose tackles. But I guess this just kind of works in this system. And Tomlinson talked about how he, kind of played this 3-4 system back when he was in Alabama. So this is kind of like a return to that for him. And so I'm interested to see how this works out. It's preliminary, obviously, but that's something that kind of sticks out to me. Looking through the rest of it, you got Patrick Peterson and Cam Dantzler as the starting cornerbacks, and then that's when they kind of mix it up, from a backup standpoint. Shandon Sullivan, Andrew Booth, Chris Boyd, Caleb Evans. We talked about it yesterday. Quite a bit of depth at that cornerback position, and to see Sullivan and Booth be the direct backups behind Peterson and Dantzler, that says a lot. And then to have Chris Boyd and a Caleb Evans at that next level, I just see good things from this cornerback group. Last thing, Lewis Seen listed as a backup behind the starters at safety, Harrison Smith and Cam Bynum. So I think there is time for Seen to make a challenge to Cam, as the regular season approaches, but interesting to see Cam snatch this other safety spot.
I really like what you brought up. It's a good point as far as that nose tackle defensive end situation. I think when Ed Donatel was brought in, we knew that new 3-4 system was going to be put in place. We didn't know how they were going to view all their different personnel changes going on. And I think we all thought that Tomlinson and Harrison Phillips were pretty interchangeable. They could both play nose and they can both play 5-tech. But I think we all just assumed that it was going to be Tomlinson in the middle and not Harrison Phillips. So that was interesting. I mean, that's an awfully important position. If you're going to run a 3-4, you got to have an anchor in the middle that can chew up everything and open up lanes for everyone else. And the backup position I thought was interesting. TJ Smith listed as the backup nose, which I thought was surprising. Not so much because anyone like James Lynch or T.Y. McGill has been anything special, but I just haven't heard the name TJ Smith at all during camp. So another defensive line battle, backup 5-tech, Jonathan Bullard, a guy you picked up on a vet minimum. He's bounced around team to team. He's listed ahead of James Lynch, Twyman, who you just mentioned, Odemeo, and that will shock me if that stays the same up until week 1. I think something fishy's going on right there currently with that depth chart. Chris Boyd over at Caleb Evans for now anyways. I think that'll change as we move forward. Bynum, you mentioned, still overseen. Feels about right because it's still early. And then you mentioned Patrick Jones as well. I thought that was interesting. First in line to get more snaps and reps after Hunter and Za'Darius, not DJ Wanham. So that's great to see. And we always talk about that 5th and 6th wide receiver. So Myron Mitchell as the 5 right now over Tristan Jackson and Jalen Naylor. That's worth noting. Last one real quick. Give me a player that you can say definitively has won camp. They've gone out there and put together far more good days than bad, and collectively just been very consistent as one of the better players from Viking training camp. And why?
All right, so can I do a tie?
Of course.
How's
We're going to
this
double
game
dip.
work?
We're getting a little bonus action here on Superior Sports Talk today.
Yeah, I got one guy on both sides. So I'm just gonna, you know what? This is our show. We can do what we want. How about that? Okay, we're gonna
How about
go.
that?
We're gonna go KJ Osborne on the offensive side and Danielle
Love it.
Hunter on the defensive side. So KJ Osborne has been, I was following my guy Gabe Henderson, who's been on the ground there at camp a lot more than I have so far this season or this preseason. But from everything that I've seen and then following along with what he is saying as well, KJ Osborne has just been like, he took last season by storm and really showed improve and really just established himself as wide receiver 3. And I think, he's going to be a guy that challenges this year for a 1,000-yard season, possible double-digit touchdowns. Like, he seems to just get it. And he seems to just be taking his position to heart. And he's going out there and he's proving it every day that he belongs and that he's one of the top 3 guys catching passes from Kirk Cousins. And I think, especially now with Irv Smith Jr. out, this is a role for him. He's like, look, I'm that third option. I know you love your tight ends, Kirky, but look at me. I'm your guy. Remember what we did in Carolina together? I know you remember that, how we walked it off. Yeah, I'm your guy. Let's do this. Come on, baby. Throw it to me. And then I think on the other side, Danielle Hunter just is coming into camp with a chip on his shoulder. And he's like wreaking havoc as much as you can when you can't touch the quarterback. But he looks healthy. He looks strong. And he looks ready to go for week 1. Like, watch out Aaron Rodgers when you got Za'Darius on one side and Danielle on the other side. Both of those guys look healthy and strong and ready to go. And I think Danielle Hunter is extra motivated this season to go out and prove that he's still one of the top guys in the league rushing the passer. And so I am excited to see what he puts together, and he's certainly putting together a strong camp to show and prove what he has.
2 great picks for sure. I think if I had to pick an MVP of camp, I think I probably would go with KJ Osborne for all the reasons that you just laid out. I'll give you another one. I'm going to go with Christian Darrisaw. Remember, I called him out on the show a few weeks ago. I said he's a guy I think he's got a lot of pressure on him to come into camp because everyone's just assuming he's just going to come in and be great. But I needed to see him go out there and prove it first. And he needed to come out here and prove everything everyone was saying about how good he looked all offseason. And he has. He's checked all the boxes, every practice, holding his own against Hunter and Za'Darius, two of the best in the business. NFL Network comes out. They find out the coaches see shades of Trent Williams in his game. He also just looks bigger when I watch him. He came out of Virginia Tech with all the athleticism for an offensive lineman, but to see him bulk up and put on more of an anchor and even upper body strength, he just looks bigger and bulkier. It's a great sign that he's ready to hold his own on an island out there against bigger power rushers in this second year. And that's exciting because it feels like we're just one good Darrisaw season away from the Vikings having two bookend tackles they can count on for the next 5 to 6 years, something we haven't been able to say around here in well over a decade.
You look at that depth chart, as you were saying, his backup, you're just like, if you're questioning whether or not that guy needs to even make the roster a couple years ago, you're like, look, Darrisaw, we need you to be out there and be healthy because we don't even want to have to see what happens when we have to put that backup guy in there.
Yeah, let's not go there. I don't want to find out. Let's just put it that way. Vikes resume practice today with the pads back on, then a non-padded practice Friday before they get on the plane to Vegas, taking on the Raiders. Kickoff 3:25 p.m. Central Standard Time when the Vikings 2022 season officially begins. Get some debate going. Go comment on the YouTube channel. Let us know what you think. Who's been the biggest winner of Viking training camp? We want to hear it from you. 27 days until week 1 of the NFL season. Rest assured, Reggie and I got you covered every step of the way, every day on Locked On Sports Minnesota, which you can now find on streaming Roku device apps. So be sure to look out for our Locked On app on your Roku device as well. Pretty cool. All right, to baseball we go. Twins tied it up going into the 6th inning and can't seal the deal. Another late inning collapse, allowing 4 late runs in the final innings. Been here, done that. Same story. Fulmer comes in the 6th, gives up a solo shot. That I can handle, Reg. Down 1, no big deal. You can come back from that. What I can't handle is Griffin Jack's giving up 3 more runs in the 7th. 3-run bomb shot from Joey Gallo, busting the game wide open. Too much for the Twins in the end. They lose 8-5. They get swept in L.A. and officially lose first place to the Guardians, who won last night as well. Wow. Reg, they made all these moves. They added 3 really solid pitchers before the deadline, and yet we sit here today with the same feeling in our stomachs we've had the last 2 months. The Twins' middle and late relievers just are having a hard time getting this job done. Is that too much of an overreaction when Devil's Advocate's going to say, well, yeah, okay, but this is the best team in baseball we're playing right now. We're not supposed to win these games against the Dodgers anyways. Or do you get that same feeling a lot of fans have that maybe they waited too long until the deadline approached, and maybe the arms they added won't be enough in the end to make a run and win this division?
I think it's a little too early to tell. And what I think is happening is we're just at a point where the Twins are sliding. And as you saw there, Cleveland last 10, 7-3. Cleveland's just surging right now. And it's just like, this is not the right time. Yeah, look at that. The Twins, the last 6, 4-6, or the last 10, 4-6. Considering how these West Coast road trips have gone, they're gonna, take on the Angels this weekend out there in Los Angeles or Anaheim, whichever one you want to do it. They kind of confuse us with that. But I think they are hoping to at least get out of there with 3. Like they have to. Like the Angels, like the drop-off in talent between the Dodgers and the Angels is just that. Like, look, the Dodgers are just strong, man. Like they are, like we said yesterday, they are a World Series favorite. They just have heat all up and down that lineup. You think you're okay if you can get past Freeman, or you can get past Mookie or Cody Bellinger. But then when you got guys like Max Muncy, back-to-back games with the home run, Joey Gallo, like this dude was a Yankee to start the season, and you're just like, okay, where does this come from? Like we thought we had these other guys to contend with, and now we got these dudes too. Like what is this? And I think that's when you just look at your phone, your TV, whatever you watch the game on, you're just like, these dudes are just too much, man. Like, just too much. And it's funny because the Yankees have lost, I think, 7 of 8. And it's funny when you
I think it's
wish
8 in
you
a
were
row
playing
now. I think they've
yeah,
lost 8 in a
yeah,
row. Yeah, something wild.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny now when you're just like, dang, I kind of wish we were playing the Yankees instead of the Dodgers because
Right.
we might have a chance. Goodness gracious. And so I look, I think it's kind of early. It's funny, like a day after Duffy officially is no longer a Twin, Michael Fulmer comes in and he's like, hey, I got you back, bro. Your legacy in Minnesota won't be in vain. Okay. I got you. But honestly, I think Fulmer's probably still just trying to get his feet set in Minnesota, and that, like you said, you're cool with that. But some of the usual suspects are still coming in these games and doing what they do. Like Jax, like we've seen him blow some games like several times before. And look, they went and got a couple arms, and you just hope that helps. But when you still have the guys like Cotton, you still have guys like Jax coming in and giving up all these runs and blowing these leads. Like the Twins went out and did what they should have done. They were aggressive. They went and got 3 arms. And it's just like sometimes you still can't overcome a bullpen who has those problems. And I don't really know what to think, man. Like they're in some trouble right now, and they just better hope that they don't, skid. Like they need a win in the worst way to just kind of stable this thing and steady this ship a little bit because they're sliding.
Let me ask you a question that I've always wondered. The Twins play 2 in LA. They play the Dodgers. They get done late last night. Normally, you'd get on a plane and you'd fly home. Got the day off today. But they play in Anaheim now the next, 3-4 days this weekend, over the weekend. So what's the deal? Do they fly all the way home and enjoy this day off at home and then fly all the way back to the West Coast? Or do you find a hotel right away in Anaheim and post up there and then enjoy a day off in Anaheim? Do you stay in LA one more day? In a situation like that, do you think they flew all the way back home to Minnesota to enjoy this day off and then flew all the way back to California, or did they just stay out there?
No, they stay out there, and maybe they switch hotels just for good juju's sake. Like, okay, we're gonna get
Switch
one
it up
closer
here.
to the Angels stadium. Like we're, hopefully we got some rooms with some halos on it because we need some help from a higher power right now. But I think they stay out there, just kind of take this day, enjoy LA, maybe go to Disneyland or something. I don't know, whatever you do to kind of relax, get yourself, re-centered, refocused, maybe, go get some in and out, go to Roscoe's, kind of enjoy the time that you have off today and get back to it and get ready to go tomorrow. So yeah, they'll stay out there. I don't understand why they would come back to Minnesota just for less than 24 hours to have to go back. So they're probably just staying out there, finding another hotel they can just chill at and get ready for tomorrow.
Everybody's got a plane ride routine. I know you got one. My plane ride routine, I grab a handful of Built Bars. First thing, put them right in my carry-on. Built Bar, made with collagen protein, so it's easily digestible, provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15. The Twins aren't in first place in the Central for the first time since April 22nd. Reg, can you even remember where you were or what you were doing that long ago? Here's a couple. The last time the Twins weren't in first place, the Minnesota Timberwolves were tied 1 game apiece with the Memphis Grizzlies in the NBA playoffs.
Wow.
The last time the Twins weren't in first place, the Minnesota Wild just beat the Kraken 6-3 and held a 4-point lead over the Blues in the standings for second place in the division. The last time the Twins weren't in first place, gas prices in Minnesota were $3.91 a gallon. Those are pretty wild to think about.
What
Anything
a time.
specific? Yeah, you remember the last time the Twins weren't in first place.
The last time the Twins were not in first place, we were just kind of getting this show off the ground.
That's right.
That's what I remember.
Right.
Yeah. We were just kind of getting it going here. And we kind of came to a conclusion. We were like, maybe the Twins are just a good baseball team, that's and maybe looking back at that, back then that was true. Right now they're struggling a little bit, and they're still not a bad team, still several games over 500. Let's see, 4 games over 500, so it's it's not all bad, but I do think that it's scary hours, man. Like I'm officially in that category where I'm worried about them. And if that's my opinion, then I know that Twins fans probably feel the same way. They're just like, what is going on? Like, what are we doing? What's going to happen? Like you throughout some of these streaks that they've had and throughout the lead that they've kept, you're thinking about possibilities. Like, man, could we possibly, get out of that first round? Like, could we make some noise in the playoffs? And right now you're just like, oh my gosh, can we just get there? Can we get there? I don't know. I'm pulling my hair out. I'm scared. I don't know what to think. And so, for them to have held this lead for as long as they had, like, it's impressive. But we know it's not how you start. It's not even how you go sometimes. It's how you finish. And so they need to finish strong to be able to get to where they should be, or else, all this time that they spent in first place is just kind of in vain. And it's just like, well, what was it for if they aren't even going to make the playoffs?
Yeah, April 22nd, we got done with the show. Reggie said, Luke, if you bring up one more NFL mock draft,
oh,
my
yes.
my head's gonna explode. We were about a week before NFL draft season. Reggie said, no more mocks, Luke. I can't take it. Forget about them. Rip them up. I can't do it. Day off today, then staying on the West Coast for 3 against the Angels. Tyler Malley on the mound Friday, another late one. First pitch, 8:38 p.m. All right, the time has come. My favorite segments here. I'm putting Reggie on the hot seat with What Does It Mean, covering all the latest hot topics in Minnesota sports. First up, when it comes to PFF rankings, Danielle Hunter and Za'Darius Smith's best seasons came in 2019 when they posted 89.4 and 90.2 grades respectively, and both ranked near the top at the edge position in the entire NFL. In that season, Hunter posted 15 sacks and Za'Darius collected 16. In 2020, while Hunter was sidelined, Za'Darius was the 4th best pass rusher in the entire NFL before missing all of last season with a back injury. Where am I going here with this? What does it mean when it comes to the ceiling of this pass rushing tandem as they come back from injury and a new Ed Donatel 3-4 system? Let's just say best case scenario here. What kind of production and impact would you expect from these two teaming up and getting into the backfield and after the passer?
If they are healthy, I'm talking double-digit sack numbers for both of those guys. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? Like 11 plus sacks for both of those guys. That means they're really getting after it. And I give it to them because they are still at the top of their game. Like both have endured some injuries that you're just like, I don't know about that. Anytime you get to talking about a back injury with Za'Darius and then a neck injury with Danielle, you're just like, I don't know, bruh. Like, I don't know. That's a little touch and go there, but they both say that they feel good, they look good, and if they can at least play 15 games, how about that? 15 games this season, at least, they're wreaking havoc. Because if they're out there, like, you're gonna get the max effort from those guys. So I think, when you talk about it from a pass rushing standpoint, that's going to help this team because if they're getting after the passer like they are, that only helps on the back end of that defense as well, because maybe now you have a quarterback dropping back and kind of rushing a throw, and maybe their wide receivers are not fully set or anything, or forcing bad throws because the pressure is just up in the quarterback's face so much. So, like, I think that helps. I honestly think that this Vikings defense, if health is stable on this Vikings defense, I think that they're going to be a top 10 defense in the league, because you look at it from all 3 levels. You got some like highly skilled guys on all. You got Dalvin Tomlinson, Harrison Phillips in the front. Then you got Kendricks and Hicks, who are 2 of the most productive linebackers in all of the NFL. And you talk about the athleticism from Kendricks when from his linebacking position, you have to watch out for him as well, because he can pick it off and take it back to the house. And then you look at the defensive backfield when you got guys like Harrison Smith, Patrick Peterson, Dantzler, Booth, Scene or Bynum. Like, they have some really good pieces on every level of this defense, and it starts with that pass rush. If they can generate that pass rush, which we hope to see them be able to do, because those two guys in Smith and Hunter are very highly skilled when they're healthy. Like, watch out for this defense as a whole, because these guys are going to get after it.
I'm shaking my head here. My jaw is on the floor because I just looked up the 2021 most defensive sacks. Do you know where the Vikings ranked last season?
Give it to me.
I'm almost going to have to double check this, because is this true? Second in the league last year with 51 sacks, only behind the Steelers.
They were number one for a long time last season.
That's wild, knowing that you didn't have Danielle Hunter for most of the season. DJ Wanham was one of your top leaders with, like 8 sacks. But just the collective unit to have 51 sacks together, absolutely incredible. I brought up 2019, Za'Darius and Hunter collectively that year. Granted, yes, on different teams, but collectively, they had 31 sacks combined. Just those two players. Last year, the Giants only had 34 sacks as a team. So I'm with you. I think when you talk about just the ceiling of this pass rushing tandem and this defense as a whole, it's hard not to see top 10 potential here, especially when, again, you add some new young pieces into the mix, but you still got your core of returning veterans, Eric Kendricks, Hunter, Harrison Smith, you name it. So I'm awfully excited to see how this Ed Donatel system looks with all these new pieces around it, and just to see something different outside of the Mike Zimmer same system we've seen for the same 8 years, maybe a little bit more of a fresh, modern approach to this defensive scheme, and see these first little wrinkles and looks, these sub packages that Donatel unveils on us Sunday in Vegas. All right. That's a wrap today. Back here tomorrow, breaking down more Twins, Vikes, plenty more. Remember to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Join us every day for another episode covering all the biggest topics in Minnesota sports. Remember, we're a podcast too, free and available on all platforms. Subscribe and drop us a 5-star review and take us everywhere on the go. He's Reggie Wilson. Follow him on Twitter at Reggie Wilson TV and on KARE11. I'm Luke Inman on Twitter at Luke_Spinman. Special thanks to our producer, Matt DeBritz. Tune in tomorrow to Superior Sports Talk, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota. For Reggie, I'm Luke. Until tomorrow, signing out.
Be blessed. Spread love today.